We flew out there in the morning, sat around till we had a meeting at, I believe, about 1:30. Sat in a room with about, I don't know, 20 people maybe, and it was CCA and ICE talking back and forth about pretty much all the things that you see listed in number 5 on this list. And we sat there, never said a word for an hour and a half, got up and got on the plane and came back here, and literally did not say anything. We just listened and watched. So that is the sum total of our involvement in this to date. Tom, I think, needed, or actually did make mention on number 11 in regards to the other questions that we have. You know, that by no means is the complete list. You know, I personally have some real issues with things that have to do with liability for the village that have never been discussed. We never talked about any of this stuff. So, you know, there really is nothing that we can give you that is concrete. We have never received any phone calls from ICE. We have received literally one letter, and that was the one that was spoken to in item number 3. And it may seem hard to understand or hard to believe, but that, quite frankly, folks, is the honest to God truth. So, having said that, I think that kind of hopefully to answer some questions for some people. I know there's been a lot of bad and misinformation out there. I'm not sure exactly who is taking liberties to make those kind of statements that place this facility potentially across the street from Balmoral Park Racetrack, across the street from Smokey Joe's. There's probably a whole myriad of things that if I sat down and thought about the crazy stuff that I've read online or that has been brought back to me. But this, folks, is really it in sum total. So we have not had any kind of contact with them, and I don't know when we will or if we ever will. So that's pretty much where it stands. Now, we need to probably take some questions. Now, just again, we'd like for you, if you could, to try to keep your comments on point and as brief as we possibly can, so we give as many people the opportunity to speak. Again, I will just remind you that we have a board meeting we still have to conduct tonight. So Ed, right here in the front row.
And Mike too.
Oh,
One
yeah.
person speak at a time, please, so
Yeah.
we can obviously hear the questions and everybody can hear the question.
Sure.
Can I go?
Yeah.
My name's Ed Gensler, 1529 Main Street, Crete. We've been in this village for 5 generations, since 1872. I just do not want Crete to be known as the detention center. If it goes through, but I prefer that you will not accept it. That's my statement.
Thanks, Ed. The lady next to, yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Linda Brown. I live at 515 Morey Terrace in Crete. I would just like to make a comment on the proposed detention center. This is not the type of economic development that many of people in Crete, the Crete residents, agree with or want, including myself. I urge the village trustees and mayor not to approve the proposed detention center. Should it ever come forward to where you would need to vote on this,
Sure.
I strongly urge you to not approve this. I think it's a bad idea for Crete. And the question I have is, why would CCA go under contract, as stated in your informational thing that you just sent out, to purchase land for the proposed detention center when it has not even been given final approval?
Well, and I think I can.
Thank you.
I think I can commonsensically answer that one, Linda. Typically, when a developer wants to bring a project forward, they have to be able to legally speak for the land that they want to put the project on. It's not a normal process of development where you go out and try to sell an idea and then figure out where you're going to put it. So, you know, that's really what it boils down to. You have to have a place that you can conclusively say, I have the property under my control, therefore I can be involved in the program. So, now, next, Dan.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're being nice and letting her sit down. Okay.
One question?
Sure.
Okay. Dan Taylor, 391 Herman Street, Crete. My question is for Mr. Durkin. You said under point 2, as with most potential economic development projects in our continuing efforts to diversify the tax base, the village agreed to submit their interest by participating in the due diligence process. Could you characterize how many other projects that you've looked at over the last year and how much effort you've gone to in those? I'm just trying to gauge an idea of how far down the road you've gone with this particular project versus some of the other things that you might have been able to do.
Well, as you know, we have recently been fortunate to land a few projects in the village. Silica Labs, Culver's, Universal Steel America, you know, that were very similar type of process. South Holland Bakery is another one.
Yeah, which we haven't even announced that yet, but
Right.
they bought the Technotate building, and we were very quiet about that because, you know, that's a project that was going to go to Crown Point. We saw that they were dealing in Crown Point. We did what all other towns do. You get a hold of those people and say, we can maybe make you a better deal over here, or we think we have a place for you, because there's a lot of competition for that. And as it turns out, they walked away from Crown Point and came over here. We actually have two other ones that we found out about that we're also looking at the Technotate building. One of those just recently, as in last week, we thought we were going to be able to bring them here. We met with them probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 times.
Yep.
Provided them with tons of information. They sat down and told us on numerous occasions that they really, really wanted to be in Crete. And then Saturday's Northwest Indiana Times said they're going to Glenwood. And this was a refrigerated food distribution company that was moving out of Lansing, and they were looking at building over here. And for whatever reason, and we've been in contact with them within the last couple of weeks, and then we just read about it in the paper that they're going to Glenwood. There is another manufacturing concern that we've been talking with. Again, no plans, they haven't committed to anything, but we have those kind of discussions on a pretty regular basis, and we're very quiet about them because the second the word gets on the street that you're talking to them, there's going to be 10 other towns that are going to be talking to them too.
And those things typically are not brought forward for any type of approval until there's actually something of substance to bring forward.
Exactly,
like
because you want to try to
So,
pound out as much.
I can appreciate your effort, but this just seems like an outlier as an example of everything else you've talked about.
Yeah, well, it's certainly a unique project. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
There's absolutely no doubt about that. And that's why you're going to see probably a lot more scrutiny with respect to something like this than you might see in another particular project, like a Silica Labs, for example, or something like that.
Dan, we, as a general rule, when we get leads from either Will County or the CED, or not the CED, but the CSEDC, or we get them from DCEO at the state, most of the time they won't even tell you who the company is. You know, it'll say they need to have this kind of power, this kind of acreage, this size of building, blah, 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 and you throw your hat in the ring and hope that, you know, they find you good enough to come back and talk to. And if you find out who it is, you know, you really have to do some digging to find out, because they won't let you know.
And another thing they do is they usually give you about a week to respond.
Or less.
To a 5 or 10 page type of request for information.
Sometimes we find out and literally have like 2 days to prepare something.
You know, I just got one the other day, a data center that is looking in Will County. But because of the infrastructure that they are required for the data center, we won't even be submitting a site because we know that we have no sites in town that will meet what their requirements are with respect to that.
And I just thought of another one. I ran into somebody at Mayors and Managers last Thursday night, and I have a meeting, and this is a big project, a very coveted project and it's a manufacturing firm, and I have a meeting with them on Thursday. And, you know, if something will happen, I don't know, but you know, it's because I went and sat at the right table and recognized the person I was sitting with and made a pitch. That's how things start. So.
And a lot of times, again, I just want to add real quick, a lot of times, again, you go forward with something like that, you have maybe a subsequent meeting, and then for whatever reason, it doesn't go any further than that. I
They
mean, you just
disappear.
don't know what's going to happen
Right.
until you